Stop being somebody you're not and be who you really are. Relax into that one presence, one power, which is your baseline. It is who you are. So the exercise we did today in prayer, in the meditation, which is that you relax and you let go, that is a great way to do it. And now maybe you can't do it with your biggest problem, but you can do it with something, and you can feel that deeper relaxation. It's fundamental. Now, just imagine how effective you are in the world when your baseline is happiness. Your baseline is love, your baseline is compassion, your baseline is understanding that the person in front of you is another, is you. Who are you going to try to tell is wrong for being themselves? You're just going to be that presence, which is everybody wanting to have someone in their life that is just that presence, who's there for them, who can see them, who knows them as good and whole and perfect. Happy Pride Month. I'm kind of excited about that. I think one of the things we've been talking about here for some time is about this idea that there is only one presence, one power. It is the foundational thought in unity. It is one of those thoughts, in my opinion, that people say, oh yeah, I get that, but that goes so deep, I doubt you get it right at first. I mean, I'm on it 25 years now, still exploring what that might mean. And I would like to continue to explore what that might mean for you, because if we get this, then most everything else will tumble out with such ease and grace. It will be unbelievably refreshing. Because if you got that you are, because there is only one, you are that one presence, one power, how would you live your life differently? To help you do this, Michael is having meditations every Wednesday night at 6 from 6:30. He took a break from that, but he's coming back. He's doing it. He does it in the green room here. You're invited. Please don't come late. He starts right on time. But I'm going to jump back into my thing. I want to say this is Pride Month. In so many places and so much of the time in the last, as long as I can remember, we've made such distinctions between each of us. One of the ways we have made it is about sexuality. It's unbelievable. I mean, everybody has a body, don't you? I mean, how to be embodied or to embody this body is to put yourself into an emotional state so often that if you ever feel love, it is such a relief. And to make love the problem has got to be a big sin. So I'm going to read you a poem from Hafiz. This is my nod to this month. We live on the sun's playground. Here, everyone gets what they want. Sometimes the body of a beautiful woman, sometimes the body of a beautiful man, sometimes the body of both in one. We used to play that kind of tag in the animal world too. Now a mouse, now a tiger. Look, I'm a whale. I got tired of the land. Went back to the ocean for a while. What power is it in our new sinew and mind that will not die, that keeps us shopping for the perfect dress? We have all heard the flute player, and I'm not talking about Tim, we have all heard the flute player and kept dancing toward him. Hafiz, you have been the flute player and cannot help but whirl. So today's talk is entitled, I get to make up the titles, it's entitled Walking and Chewing. You know the words that are missing. And so I just want to say that this idea of recognizing that there's only one presence, one power, may seem like an esoteric thing, but when it gets into your deeper understanding of what that means, it becomes so radically different. To live the day to day from that place means that you always have beneath the vicissitudes of this life a smooth sea of love, happiness, and peace. Now, many of us are really agitated by things that are happening in the world. It happens all the time. I was just thinking about how it's been happening my whole life. I was born during the Korean War. I got a break for a while, and then the Vietnam War. And then it was also the time of Martin Luther King and the striving for equal rights. Cities were burning. Times were tough. Well, that ended, and nice enough, we had the Gulf Wars. They lasted 20 years, right? Enough to be caught up in, to be agitated, be irritated, and be thoroughly conflicted about how we should act in it, right? Had that. If you're older than me, you were there for the Second World War. Older than that, you were here for the Depression. Older than that, you were here for the influenza. There has been a lot of stuff that comes down the pike of being a human being. Are you not clear that it will never stop? Have you always thought that at some point you'll get it all together? God, yes, I have. That at some point you will get it together, and sometimes you do, and it is so sweet when it happens. When you want something to happen and you strive for it and you hit that moment, oh, thank God. And what has happened is that your mind is no longer wanting something other than what it has, and so when it gets to that point, it relaxes and it reveals what is underneath your thought process, which is your awareness. Your awareness is what we will call God. That consciousness that is beneath, supporting, and poses as your mind. When you reach that, you're in bliss. Maybe not bliss like ecstasy bliss or cocaine bliss, but you're in bliss of peace, love, and happiness. And so for me to come back to this over and over, it may sound repetitive to some, but just think what it would be like if you walked out of here going, I know how to do it. I'm going to give it a shot. I've heard it's really good. And some of you have already been on that path. And I personally think this is the path for unity in the future. Unity, the worldwide movement of unity, has been for as long as it's been in existence, very good about doing prayer and meditation. But if you do prayer and meditation so you can change the world, what you get is a momentary improvement on the world, but you miss peace, love, and happiness. Because peace, love, and happiness cannot be sustained by the world, because as you have noticed, if you're as old as I have, the world keeps changing. Even your relationships get changing, and oh my God, your body keeps changing. Right? What you thought was permanent has become temporary. I would like you to really consider this thought. There's only one presence, one power. It's not an insignificant thing. And I know many of you have been in unity a long time, and many of you have kind of got the concept of the core beliefs, but I think if you get this one, you won't have to worry too much about the others, because they fall out of that one. That you are also part of that one presence. How would you not be? How could God be infinite and not be where you are? This is an intellectual question that you can answer with the mind, but how could you not be God if there is only one presence? And how could this being that you are not be able to affect your own experience by thoughts and changing your thoughts and your prayers? How could it not happen if you are that presence, that energy that is forming the world? How could you not have influence on that? So there you are, and so you're just left with the last ones. But basically, you just got to do it. Okay, well, now I'm coming back to the beginning and saying, if you get the beginning, you have got the whole banana. So let's go to it, okay? Please forgive me if I'm boring you. I don't mean to bore you, but I do want to bore into this. I did a 45-day challenge recently. The 45-day challenge was to reach what is called persistent well-being. Means that love, peace, and happiness is your baseline, and everything that happens on top of that is only a momentary infraction of that feeling, and you will, when you rest, you will subside back into that peace, love, and happiness because you have done whatever spiritual practice you need to do that your being now is drawn toward it naturally, that it naturally moves toward that peace, love, and instead of you having to work at it. So if you do it right and get lucky, you will drop into peace, love, and happiness as your basic form of being. That's what the 45-day thing is to get you to do that. And so it was an hour and a half of meditation and prayers for 45 days straight, no exception. And they said basically it's going to happen for most of you at the end, and it did. It happened for me about day 43. And during that, I got one lesson that I thought was the most valuable one out of the whole course. They had many ways of meditation, and you would do meditation for an hour straight. The other thing you would do is you would pray for your awakening to that, your cohort's awakening to that, and I prayed for your awakening to that for 45 days straight. You're on your own now. I've stopped, and so... But the thing I really loved, the statement I heard in that was, if you reach well-being, stop doing the practice and expand the well-being. Now, how many of us are taught, if you have a good experience in meditation, just do the meditation, go back to your meditation. I've been in those retreats where it hurts so much. If you have any good feeling, you want to... No, just keep doing the meditation and keep suffering and keep on it. This idea I took to heart, and when I took it to heart, what I did was whenever I felt love, I would expand it, or whenever I felt peace, I would expand it, or any form of happiness, I would just expand it. And so my expansion of that meant that I spent more, let's say it would start out normally as like a brief encounter, and I'd go, wait a minute, I felt that. I'd come back to it and try to make it bigger. Or maybe it was happening for a while. Instead of just letting it stop, I would go, okay, then more and more. And so once you're on the path of happiness, or once you're on the state of love, it's not that hard to keep it going. And so rather than returning to my normal self, which I thought had been my job all my life, was to return to my normal self of somewhat dissatisfaction, I instead went to love. Now, can you imagine the difference for a guy who's always thought I'm just one step away from love to a guy who says, every time I feel it, I'm going to make it bigger. So if you don't hear anything I've said all day, you remember this, please. If you will make it bigger, it will be bigger. Because really all you're doing is returning to your natural state, your confused state of who you are. What's it like to walk through life where you're in love? A few of you remember, right? It's wonderful. And I would even say from this stage, I'm happy, just happy. I don't have any reason. That's why I was happy, because when I would get to love, I would make it bigger. Please don't forget this. You can do that. Any moment you find somebody, let's say you look at your dog and you go, oh, I just love my dog. Well, then make it bigger. Or your husband or wife or your friends or your cousins or whatever it is that reminds you, just make it bigger. And it doesn't mean you have to act funny toward them. You are doing this for your internal experience. So you do that. And there are lots of things we have taught on what I call the progressive path, the path toward remembering who you really are. The progressive path teaches you some very good habits. And where you want to land with this is that that the subset of your mind is touching onto this consciousness which we call God often enough that it influences the way you feel on a daily basis, even if it's not on the surface, it's just beneath the surface. Right? And here's some of the traditional ways of getting yourself primed and ready for this. But they could become a day in which you don't even need to try. But I would suggest you do continue, because you can lose it. Mindfulness, empathy, seeing the interdependence of everyone. You know that is, you can't, there's not a single person here that's independent. We as Americans love to think that we're individuals. But we wouldn't exist, our world wouldn't exist if we weren't interdependent. Contemplate the wave on the ocean. What is the wave that you are on the ocean of total consciousness or God? Don't be attached to the outcome. This is a really difficult one, and particularly in a time when you're troubled, you think, I gotta have it this way. I gotta put my effort, and I'm gonna try really hard, and it's gotta go this way, or I will not be happy. The world has to go this way, or I will not be happy. And letting go of that is the beginning of liberation. I can tell you, if you can get to the place where Byron Katie says, every time I argue with reality, I lose. When you can get there and know what that means, you're so close. You've stopped resisting the world, and the resistance is a mind thing. And my hope is that you move beyond the mind as your primary identification and become awareness itself. Practice universal compassion. When you see God in everyone, wouldn't you naturally do that? So maybe you start with the hard part first, doing it before you do see it. But once you see it, wouldn't it be obvious that you would be kind, loving to everyone? So sometimes going from the backside in might be your best shot. So practice compassion. How about this one? Embrace impermanence. I'm confronted with impermanence these days, aren't you? About everything. About American way of life, about friends living, me living, for instance, also. Movement, you move across the country. How many people here moved across the country to be with their grandchildren, and then their grandchildren moved away? Okay, so a little practice. How do we do this? Well, we did one exercise today, which is to sit with that which you thought had to be changed before you can be happy, and let it go and let it go. The real trick, I think, with coming to a generalized experience that you're part of the one is done by relaxation. It's not done by achievement. You know, an apple doesn't have to achieve appleness, right? It just relaxes into being an apple, and it's an apple through and through. And you don't have to achieve oneness with God because you're already that. And so the trick is deeper relaxation into this being that you are. The being, not the doing, not the thinking, not the striving, not that. Relax into the being, which is prior to everything. Relax into that. As you relax into that, you begin to find that the thing you were looking for has been looking for you and is pulling you toward it. It wants you. The awareness wants you back into this. So let me describe what the mind is. The mind is God's way of having an individual experience, and it can't do it without you. And so you come along and you say, I will be that part of God which will take on a small individual way of looking at the world, and I will have all the multiplicity in front of me, and God can have all the fun of looking at the world from so many different directions. And when that gets to be less fun for you, he goes, but I would like it to be peaceful or loving or happy. And here's how you return to God, because now that you've played in the world and you lived in this world and you have seen its ups and downs and you have felt the pain, the sorrow, the joys, the successes and the failures, when you have seen all that and you go, I would like to also know what it's like to be peace, love, and happiness, relax. Stop being somebody you're not and be who you really are. Relax into that one presence, one power, which is your baseline. It is who you are. So the exercise we did today in prayer, in the meditation, which is that you relax and you let go, that is a great way to do it. And now maybe you can't do it with your biggest problem, but you can do it with something. And you can feel that deeper relaxation. It's fundamental. Now, just imagine how effective you are in the world when your baseline is happiness. Your baseline is love, your baseline is compassion, your baseline is understanding that the person in front of you is you. What? I mean, what are you going to do? How are you going to be? Who are you going to try to hurt? Who are you going to try to tell is wrong for being themselves? You're just going to be that presence, which is everybody wanting to have someone in their life that is just that presence, who's there for them, who can see them, who knows them as good and whole and perfect. How many people want that? Let me raise your hand. How many people don't want it? Right? So when you return to who you are because of these practices, here's another one. I was talking to a friend. I've talked often about this called the headless way, and I think it's a terrible name because people go, I don't want to be headless. That makes sense. But the headless way can easily be achieved by, when you're walking in the woods, just spread out your awareness to 180 degrees. I want to tell you a little story about myself before I finish, just so that I can make this sound believable. And not because I like being vulnerable on stage. But I had a very bad week, Monday and Tuesday. I just felt like I had been stripped of my ability not to fall into the sadness that I was feeling. And so it was what I call my weepies. I just get kind of like really depressed about something. And walking through the woods, and it's just like, it just felt terrible. I feel terrible. Oh my God, I had other words, but I'll just, I feel terrible. Walking through the woods, and I go, so this is one of the great lessons about how to get to your original self, is to ask who's having the experience. Because, just ask who's having the experience. And it takes you back to the pure consciousness, which is who you are. And you ask, who's having that experience? And I'm going, look, and I've done this before, so it wasn't my first rodeo. It wasn't the first time I asked that question. I contemplated the question. I felt the difference. And so I don't expect it to work for you like magic, but it worked like magic for me, because I had been trying it. I get in there, and I go, who's having? Oh, me. Me. I would go back and forth like a yo-yo between these two. And one thing about it, when you're in your weepies and someone says, who's having your experience, and that's enough to pop you out of it, don't you think on Sunday you should tell the world about it? Right? That you can break out of whatever mood you're in at that moment, no matter how powerful it feels like it's overwhelming to you, you can pop out of it by simply finding that you are the awareness that is having it and not the it you're having. Oh my God, it is an amazing thing. So my hope is that you'll practice this question, asking this simple question, or walk 180 degrees, or find something small that you can practice releasing and settling into being, rather than to a thought process or feeling state or a need to do something or you know where I'm going, right? See if you can come back into the presence, the one presence, one power. There was a famous statement by Charles Fillmore. His way he would do his prayers is, I am in the presence of pure being. You could do it this way. I am the presence of pure being. Take your pick. But anyway, who's having this experience is one of them. One of them, you just say, who's having this experience? And you search for the awareness that is deep and that is you. It's not actually that deep, it's pretty close. But look for that, and that will take you out of your state. And then you can go about your day as though you were okay. When previously you couldn't. Because previously you thought you were that miserable, suffering, blubbering person. But no, you're the awareness of that miserable, suffering person. And that suffering will go away, and when it goes away, you will have started to remember who you damn are. Something from Rupert Spira. Initially on the path of devotion, God is considered to be separate and at a distance from oneself. Hence the traditional dualistic practice of devotion. However, just as the highest form of meditation is simply being, does not involve the directing or focusing of attention, but rather the sinking or relaxing of attention into the source of awareness from which it arises, so that the ultimate prayer is not a movement or a reaching of our longing towards God, but a relaxation or subsiding of our longing into the source of love from which it originates. Let us pray. Let's relax. Okay, sounds like a big deal, getting to being that presence. Just relax. Become very relaxed. Trust. Trust. And now I ask, who's having the experience of whatever you're experiencing right now? Who is having it? And then look toward the answer I. Let the I guide you toward your original, eternal self. And if at first you don't succeed, come back again and again. And one day, you'll be walking in the woods and you'll ask, who's having this experience? And you'll be happy. You'll be peaceful. You'll be love itself. And so it is. Amen. I hope you got something out of today's service. We intend to bring you things that will help you in your life become more of who you want to be, give you the freedom of forgiveness and the hope of expectancy that your life will unfold in a way that brings you joy, happiness, and is a contribution to the world. If you would like to contribute to this ministry, please go to unitytriangle.org, hit the donate button, and it will lead you into an easy way of doing that. We thank you for your attention and look forward to seeing you again here.